All right, let's dive into one of the most powerful and devastating memoirs ever written. In this explainer, we're going to walk through the grim journey in sections 2 and 3 of Elie Wiesel's Night. We're going to witness the systematic stripping away of identity, the murder of a soul that begins long before anyone even sets foot inside the infamous gates of Auschwitz. I mean, just let that sentence sink in. Hermetically sealed. That's the moment Eliezer's entire world, everything he's ever known, shrinks down and is locked inside a suffocating moving box. This isn't just about a train ride. It's about hope being sealed off, freedom ending, and the start of a journey into an unimaginable darkness. So, this first phase of the ordeal, it all starts with the journey itself. And you have to understand, this wasn't just transportation. It was step one in a very deliberate process of dehumanization. Can you even picture it? 80 human beings crammed into a single car. There's barely any air, the heat is just crushing, and the thirst becomes a form of torture. And to top it all off, the doors are nailed shut from the outside. In a pressure cooker like that, all the normal rules of society, of basic decency, they just start to melt away. And right in the middle of this horror, one voice just cuts through it all. It's a woman named Mrs. Schechter. She's been separated from her family, and she starts screaming about a fire that no one else can see. Everyone thinks she's just gone mad, right? That she's broken. But her screams, they turn out to be something else entirely. A terrifying prophecy.
What's so chilling here is watching how the other prisoners react to her. It's like you can literally track the decay of their own humanity. At first, they try to comfort her, But as the journey drags on and their own desperation grows, that compassion just evaporates. Soon they're tying her up and gagging her, and finally, they resort to beating her into silence.
And then the train finally lurches to a stop. And suddenly, Mrs. Schachter's madness becomes horrifically real. They look out and see it with their own eyes. Giant flames leaping from a chimney into the night sky. And they smell it, that wretched, unforgettable stench of burning flesh. Her visions weren't visions at all. They were real. They had arrived.
So now we're at the camp itself, Birkenau. And this isn't just a change of scenery. This one single night is going to feel like an eternity, and it's the night that will completely and irrevocably shatter Eliezer's entire world.
These might be the most chilling words in the whole book. And they're not shouted, they're spoken quietly, almost casually, by an SS officer. But in that instant, with that simple command, Eliezer is separated from his mother and his little sister, Tzipora, forever. There are no goodbyes. There's no time to even think.
8 simple words. That's all it took. Just think for a second about the devastating power packed into such a simple phrase. The power to obliterate a family in an instant. And there's no time to process, because they're immediately pushed in front of the notorious Dr. Mengele for the first selection. Another prisoner frantically whispers to them, giving them the advice that will save their lives. Eliezer must say he's 18, not 15. His father must say he's 40, not 50. In this upside-down world, a lie is the only thing separating life from death.
And then he sees something that the human mind just isn't built to comprehend. He watches as a truck pulls up and unloads its cargo of small children, babies, and they're thrown alive directly into a pit of fire. This is the point of no return. As he writes, how could he ever truly sleep again after seeing that? How could anyone?
This next moment is just so profoundly tragic. The men around him begin to recite the Kaddish, the Jewish prayer for the dead. But here's the thing. You're supposed to say it for others who have passed. They are reciting it for themselves. It's an act of ultimate despair. And for Eliezer, a devoutly religious boy, this is the moment his faith shatters. He feels a rage building inside him. How could God be silent in the face of this? What comes next is this powerful, poetic vow that becomes the absolute core of the book. It starts with this promise. He will never, ever forget that first night in the camp. A night that didn't just end at dawn, but one that stretched out to become his entire life. A trauma sealed shut forever. He vows never to forget the murder of pure innocence, those small faces turning to smoke. And notice his words, under a silent sky. That silence is an accusation. It's aimed directly at the heavens, at a God who is nowhere to be found.
And here, he says it plainly. It wasn't just human bodies that were burned in those pits. For Eliezer, the boy who lived for his religious studies, the very foundation of his soul, his faith, was also thrown into those flames and consumed forever.
And this is the end of it all. Notice the word he uses, murdered. This wasn't just a test of faith or a crisis of faith. It was the murder of his God, the complete annihilation of his soul, and the absolute destruction of any hope he ever had. The child he was is dead.
So, with this spiritual death comes the next, more methodical stage of dehumanization, the literal, systematic erasure of his individual identity. I mean, the contrast couldn't be more stark. Before, he was Eliezer, a kid who studied the Talmud, who had a name, a family. After that first night, he describes himself as just a shape that resembled me. His soul was gone, devoured. He once had a name. Now he will only have a number. He once had a family. Now he is completely, terrifyingly alone. And then comes this moment of horrifying self-awareness. A guard strikes his father hard, right in front of him. Eleazar's reaction? Nothing. He doesn't move. He doesn't even blink. He just stands there, frozen. And he asks himself that terrifying question. Had I changed that much? So fast? He realizes that the animal instinct for self-preservation has already started to kill the son inside him. And this is the final official act of erasure. The tattoo gun comes out, and a number is burned into his skin. His name, his history, his humanity, it's all replaced. He is no longer Eliezer Weisel. He is A7713, a thing, an object. And that number is all he would be, all the way from Birkenau through Auschwitz and into the labor camp at Buna.
Okay, let's step back for a minute and really break this down. If you're studying this book, this is key. Everything we've just talked about really boils down to two huge overlapping themes. First, there's the process of dehumanization, and it is a deliberate step-by-step process. Think about it. They're confined like animals in a cattle car. They're stripped of their belongings, then their families. Their heads are shaved, their clothes replaced with identical uniforms, and finally, their very names are carved off and replaced with a number, all while being subjected to the most casual, brutal violence. Each step is designed to make them feel less than human. The second, and just as important theme, is the crisis of faith. For Eliezer, this is an internal Holocaust. It starts with him just questioning God's silence. That question quickly turns into real anger. It hits a low point with that heartbreaking scene of men reciting the prayer for the dead for themselves. And in the end, it's not a crisis anymore. His faith is, in his own words, consumed and murdered, leaving nothing but a void.
And all of this leaves us with this one final haunting question. It's the question that drives the rest of the book, and really, drove the rest of Elie Wiesel's life. How do you go on living when the very core of who you are, your God, your soul, has been turned to ash?